So now we'll start with the main features of DAC that is being offered by STM32F100RB. After which we'll see how to write a small code to generate a triangular waveform using the DAC module on board, and we'll also go through the features available which we'll be covering at a little later stage. We'll go through all the resistors that are required for generation of analog outputs on the DAC module. So to start off with, the DAC module on board is a 12-bit or an 8-bit left or right aligned successive approximation type ADC. I urge the listener to go through DAC on the net and find out what are the different types of DACs, what are the response time, what are the settling times, and so on and so forth about DAC before starting to read or go through this module. So basically the microcontroller that we are dealing with offers you two DAC converters, one channel output each. Next, as I've told you, it's either a 12-bit left or right aligned data, or it's an 8-bit data available also. We'll be using 8-bit data format for our code that we'll be covering right now in this module. Also, for two channels there is a synchronize update capability. Then there is a noise wave generation and a triangular wave generation. The noise wave is generated by using LFSR. We have a DMA capability and DMA interrupt for an underrun or under error detection. Then we have external triggers for conversion. We'll be covering timers as well in different modules. These timers can be used as a trigger for triggering the DAC conversions. We'll be using software triggering right now in this module. Also, there is an input voltage reference which is available for resolution purpose. All this can be studied from the data sheet and used when real applications are being dealt with. So with this small information about the DAC module on board, what we'll do is we'll directly come to the code this time, and the resistors I'll explain you as and when we come across them. So this is the main code which will be running for the DAC. As we see that we start off by having some declarations. We'll come to these declarations a little later. We will first use the system init function as we do in all the programs. This will put the microcontroller internal clock to 24 megahertz. So now the MCU will be clocked at 24 megahertz. Next, this time we have to enable clock to the DAC as well and port A of the microcontroller. This is because on the hardware, the chip level implementation, the output channel of the DAC is multiplexed with pin PA4 and PA5. We'll be using the DAC channel 1, and for that we have to use the hardware pin PA4. So I'll just come to the RCC channels, RCC resistors over here. These are the two enable channels. So at RCC APB2 enable, at bit number 2 is enable for port A. So for APB2 we have set the bit number 2 so that the clock to port A is enabled, and in resistor 1 we have DAC enable here on bit number 29. So that's what we have done in this instruction. After the clocks are enabled, there is a note given in the application in the user reference manual. It says over here, I'll just minimize this. Where is DAC? Yeah, we just come down a little bit. It says once the DAC channel X is enabled, the corresponding GPIO pin, that is PA4 or PA5, I have already explained you this, is automatically connected to the analog converter output, that is DAC output X. In order to avoid parasitic consumption of this pin, it is required that these pins should be first configured to analog in. So in the GPIO port structure, we have already gone through this in another module. I'm just making sure that PA4 is configured as analog in. After this comes the main initialization of the DAC channel. For this, we have a register called the control register. The DAC's control register. We'll start one by one through its bit structure. We come to the registers directly. The CR register. Now we'll be using channel number 2, that is PA4 pin, that is the one that is connected to PA4. So we have to use the lower half of this register. This is the control register, DAC CR. So we have to use this section of the register, that is the lower half. For this, the bit implementation is as follows. Bit number 14 and 15 are reserved bits. As I've already mentioned before in earlier modules, that it is wise to write nothing to the reserved bits, as code compatibility will be observed if the manufacturer implements some new functions in bit number 14 and 15. Next, the bit is related to DMA. We are not going to use DMA here. DMA stands for direct memory access. We'll cover this when we cover the DMA module. Even bit number 12 is pertaining to DMA. Next, the DAC channel, I've already told you that there is a possibility of having a noise generation and triangular wave generation using this module. The bits number 11 to 8 are associated with this functionality, which we'll cover a little later. Again, wave bits, that is bit number 7 and 6, are related to whether the wave generation is enabled or not. We'll come to this a little later. Next is the trigger selection for the DAC. Now every time a DAC conversion needs to take place, there needs to be a trigger provided for the DAC channel. Bits number 5 to 3 in the CR register do this functionality. We have already seen, and I've already told you that, say, timer 6 can provide a trigger for conversion to the DAC channel. So if you select all zeros in this bit, in these bits from 5 to 3, then timer 6 event, that is overflow event, will be selected for triggering the DAC channel. Similarly, timer 3, 7, 5 or 15 in high density devices, there is a different way of doing this, which is out of the course coverage of this module. And also timer 2 or 4 can provide triggers for the start of conversion in the DAC channel. An external pin can also be used for triggering, that is called the external line 9. However, for ease of implementation on the kit, because we'll have no extra hardware, and with the timer, in the timer section we'll cover the trigger from timer 6 to the DAC. For this implementation, we'll use the software trigger. So we have to use another register and a bit in that, which one set will start the conversion in the DAC channel. So we have to set bits number 5 to 3 as all ones according to the reference manual. So this is what I've done first, and the command says software trigger selected. So bits number 5, 4 and 3 all are set by using the or equals macro. Next, the line says that enable trigger to the DAC. Now what we have done actually in the earlier statement is that we have selected the source of triggering. This bit enables or disables trigger to channel 1. So a 0 in this bit position, will make sure that if there is a trigger selected or no. Now DAC channel 0 trigger disabled, and the data will be written to the DAC data holding, which is written into the data holding register, are transferred immediately, that is 1 clock cycle after, to the DAC data output register. We are not going to use this. We have set this and we are asking the DAC to be triggered on an event, and that event is the software trigger event. But what happens is the data in the data holding register is transferred to the register from which the conversion starts 3 clock cycles after the data has been returned to the data holding register. So this is the difference, whether the trigger that we have already selected, the source of trigger, whether it is enabled or disabled. In disabled state, immediately 1 cycle after the data is returned to the data holding register, the data is transferred for conversion. In enabled mode, the trigger enabled mode, after the trigger is received, 3 clock cycles later, the data is transferred for conversion. Also, in our case is a special case. Note, when enabling of the trigger is done via the software trigger, still after 1 clock cycle of the APB clock, the data will be transferred. The point to note is that people might feel then there is no difference between setting this bit 1 or 0 in our case. However, there is for such an event when we have TEN bit set and we have selected a software trigger. Till the time the software trigger comes, whatever you write into the data holding register will not be reflected in the data output register. This is the meaning of whether the source of trigger that is being selected is enabled or disabled. The number of clock cycles after which the data is transferred is just owing due to the hardware implementation of the device. Next, we'll go back to the code. The code says that the first bit is also set in the control register. The command reads out enable output buffer for low input impedance. Now this DAC module on this microcontroller offers you that the output buffer is enabled or disabled. This buffer is not a data buffer, it's not a register, but it's an hardware analog buffer that allows you to reduce the output impedance provided by the DAC channel. So for this purpose, just for implementation of this code, I am enabling the output buffer. So setting this bit to 1 will enable the output buffer. Will disable the output buffer. So in this case, I am disabling. I've made a small mistake. What we'll do is we'll reset this bit over here and equals not off. So output buffer is now disabled. The last bit in this register makes sure that whether the entire DAC channel is enabled or disabled. A 0 in this bit will disable the channel and a 1 will enable the channel. So we of course want the conversions to take into effect, and so we set the last bit and it says enable the DAC channel. The next line reads out that a variable called data is set to 0. This data is an unsigned character. Now I have already mentioned that the data written to the data holding registers can be either 8-bit data or a 12-bit data. For our case, we are using a 8-bit data. Now character implementation in embedded C is always 8-bit in nature, and int implementation is always 32-bit in nature, and short int is 16 for a 32-bit microcontroller. Unsigned means that the last bit is also a data bit and not used for sign implementations or sign representation. So we are setting this data to 0. What we'll do is every time in the while loop we'll increment this data by 1 and we'll write it to the data holding registers, which will be reflected in the data output registers. With this, our analog output will always keep on increasing, and when it crosses over, that means it rolls over, it will fall back to 0. Thus we'll have an output triangular waveform if we plot this on a CRO. So we write this as 0 so that we know the starting point of the triangular waveform, which is 0. Next, in the while loop, we'll transfer this data to the data holding registers. So for data holding registers, we'll just come down. What are these? As I've told you that the DAC channel has some data holding registers which are 12-bit right aligned or 12-bit left aligned. These are the registers to which the user writes, and Only after the user writes this and gives a trigger will this data be copied to the actual DAC register from which the conversion takes place. So these are just the data holding registers. We are using the 8-bit and right aligned data holding register. So the name is DAC DHR8 R1, and yeah, this is the data holding register. After this is done, we have selected the software trigger. So for the software trigger, we have another register over here, 2 bits associated with it, one each for each channel. We are using channel number 1. Writing 1 to this will start the conversion, and once the conversion is complete, the register will be resetted, the bit will be resetted. It says the note reads, this bit is cleared by hardware 1 clock cycle later of APB1 once the data DAC's data holding register value has been loaded into the data output register. Point to notice, this bit will not be made 0 after the end of conversion. So you have to make sure that the settling time for this device has been met, which will be available in the data sheets, and only then you can give another software trigger or any kind of trigger for that matter. After which in the code we increment this data by 1 and store it back into data, and we wait for an arbitrary time for this entire device to settle down, the DAC to settle down to an analog value. For this we are using this time a nested for loop. If we were using the timer here, we could have polled for an overrun of the timer, or we could have used this timer itself to trigger the DAC, which is also function that is available with this microcontroller. We'll just build this project over here. And next we can always connect this kit of ours to the debugging environment, load the program, and for the output we'll be using a multimeter, and we'll check the output with respect to ground on the PA4 pin. It should slowly increase on the multimeter to a capped value, and then it will come back down. If we plot this value with respect to ground on a CRO, then you will have a triangular wave associated with it.